Hello there. Thank you for all of you that have tuned in to this Facebook Live. It is going to be a very exciting one. We have Julian joining us, and he is a mind sciences coach. So let's welcome Julian. Hi,
Thank you.
Julian.
Hello. How are you doing, Debbie?
I am very good, thank you. So Julian, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I am a mind sciences coach. Like you said, I have a company that I've started called Urban Enlightenment. Urban Enlightenment. It's modern spiritual personal development. It's non-denominational. It's not, religious. It's for everybody. It's very practical stuff, very non-esoteric and non-new agey. And I've been doing it for about a year now. So.
Okay, good. And how did you get into this, Julian?
Let me start with why I got into it. For the first 27 years of my life, maybe 26 and a half, was in almost a consistent state of intense emotional pain. And I mean intense emotional pain. Whether it was either incredibly intense anxiety or incredibly soul-sucking depression, to the point where I would lay in bed for weeks at a time and pay the pizza guy extra to deliver it down to the moldy basement I was living in. I began meditating in my early 20s, and I needed to find a way out of it, because if I didn't, I I don't know where I would be, because it was hell. It was hell. So I tried just about everything under the sun, and I got some growth here and there. It was very slow. It was very painful. And I felt very trapped, and I felt very alone, because I didn't have access to the natural things of life, like intimacy with other humans and close bonds, and the ability to have a consistent emotional state to hold a job and succeed in the world and create things that I wanted to create. So it was a very dark and ominous existence. And the thing was, I never gave up, though. I kept searching, I kept trying stuff, and I just developed a very vast array of knowledge and skills over my journey. And ultimately, when I started getting really, sorry, that's my washing machine. When I started getting, proficient, when I started getting my head above the water and able to create results in my life, I started coaching people around me, friends and acquaintances. And I started seeing that I was creating like very incredible results in other people. So because I had such a deep passion for it, because I had such a painful relationship to it, I started getting the idea. I was like, wow, I can actually I can do this for work, because I really love it. I love meditation. I love just where a mind science was like govern the way we think and why we think and how we feel. So I started Urban Enlightenment because of that.
Well, and that's the thing. I think through our pain and suffering, when we grow, we tend to find our passion through finding the power within of how we've helped ourselves. So we want to share that to help with others.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we're given this challenge to grow into something to serve the world. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting into that, why are you passionate about it? Like, have you seen results, or tell us a little bit about, and how long have you been doing it?
Well, in the particular practice that I do now, I guess consciously for about two and a half years, and unconsciously for maybe the last 7 years. What would happen is I would try lots of different practices to expel my chronic anxiety, chronic depression, including medications, which were not an option for me. And by the way, I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling anybody to get off their medications.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
But are those cats?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it's my dog.
Okay. So what I was doing is I was trying all these practices. I was getting into a relaxed enough state because my mind was in a constant spin. It was in a constant, like, as anybody who experiences anxiety or depression, even mildly, knows that you're in a spin when you're going through those emotional disturbances. But I was in a spin 24 hours a day. Okay. It was nonstop. And I didn't even realize it for a while. So I would do things like try different meditations, yoga, and I would even sit in the bathtub and hold crystals and sing hymns, and I would get to this point of relaxation where my mind would go quiet and I'd feel this kind of like, just like energy lift off my body. It's really not an esoteric, by the way, for anybody who's very left brain and logical. Emotion is literally energy in motion. So I didn't know what was happening when that happened, but I did know that it was a big relief, and I noticed that it was making me better. It was changing little parts of my life at a time. It was the 2.5 years ago where I was, and I'm a pretty spiritual guy. I believe that we are intuitively guided on our life path. I was practicing some dance moves. I like to dance to house music, which I recommend, by the way, for anybody with anxiety to get into dance. It helps you get in your body and ground it out a lot. I was practicing some dance moves in Robson Square in Vancouver, and I got this intuitive sense, like pulling at my gut, and it's like, go buy a book at the bookstore. And I was like, that was in a time where I was going through a serious grind mode where I was reading like 2 books a week, sometimes 3. I had 10 books in my reading pile already that I hadn't gotten to yet, and I was like, I don't need another book, but something was pulling me. So I go to the bookstore, and I said, okay, fine. So I walk into my favorite section, which is personal development, spirituality, coincidentally, which are next to each other usually. And I see this book. It was a spine that said the Sedona method. And I said, oh, that's weird. So I pulled it out. I opened it to a random page, which is what I always do with books that I first get. And it was talking about a banker on the 53rd floor of the Scotia Plaza, which is a massive skyscraper in Toronto. It's a banking tower. And I've worked with bankers on that floor. So I thought that was an interesting coincidence, which I actually call a synchronicity, because again, I don't believe in coincidences, even like how we met. And I started reading on, and it started talking about things like you don't have to figure out your problems to let them go. As soon as I read that, I was like, but that's pretty much what all my thinking is. You mean I don't have to do that? So that blew my mind, and I bought the book and I took it home. Later that night, I opened it up and I started reading through it, and it's what this is called is releasing. I had I'll be a little vulnerable with you. They're ground down quite a bit, not horribly, but I had TMJ because I was holding so much stress in my body.
Temporomandibular. Yeah.
When you grind your teeth at night. Yeah. It's when you grind your teeth when you're sleeping, or even during the day. But I was grinding it a lot when I was sleeping, and like it was like wearing my teeth down. So I did a release on it, and in 15 seconds, all this emotion came out of my jaw, and the problem stopped. And I've been to several dentists and specialists and telling me massage your jaw every 15 minutes and repeat this neuro-linguistic programming, or do this or do that, or wear a night guard, which I hate because it's so uncomfortable, and then your breath smells in the morning. But anyways, but in 15 seconds, I noticed after a couple of weeks, I was like, I'm not grinding my teeth anymore. My teeth don't hurt in the morning. I went, by the way, for a note, I went months later to the dentist and they took a picture of my teeth. They're like, no, your teeth haven't had any wear. So, in 15 seconds, I resolved a problem that I was facing for years. And I was like, wow. And by the way, that energy I felt, I was like, this is what I've been doing. And now I have the actual scientific way to create that and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So I began using this releasing process as much as I could. I mean, I would sit at the office all day and I would do it. Sometimes I wouldn't even work. And I found I was getting better results at work, releasing more and then doing my thing, which was interesting. It got to the point where I used to bite my nails. If you can see my nail beds on my thumbs are damaged because I would chew my nails down to the stub all the time. And within about 3 months, I noticed I stopped chewing my nails because I was releasing so much of the stored anxiety that I wasn't going unconscious and chewing my nails anymore. I was noticing that I was having less and less of it, and that if I did get an attack, I could control it, not to push it down, but to actually let it up, which is the big misconception that people with chronic emotional disturbances as a condition have. They want to run away from the emotion. They want to change the emotion, and that is only going to compress it further. And it's kind of like a jack in the box, you push it down, it's just going to spring right back up harder and hit you. And I believe that that's why I had such intensely chronic emotional disturbances, because I was a champion at resisting and escaping. So that's how I got into it. Sorry for that life story.
No, that's awesome. Hey, that's great. I mean, it's good to see that you took your pain and suffering, and I can relate because I deal with severe anxiety myself, social anxiety, and it's like, get me out of here as soon as I go into a crowd of people. So I can relate. And so you took your pain and suffering, you grew from it, and now you're making a difference for others. And that's what we all can do from a place of our hearts, is use our stories, use our passion to make a difference for others. Absolutely. So that's great. So what is it that you do?
Long story short, I literally show people the truth of what they are. Because the biggest problem in the world is that we are identified with our mind and our thoughts and our feelings. And the more you believe your mind, your thoughts, and your feelings, the more you are going to suffer, the more miserable you're going to be. And to the people who say, what are you talking about? Of course, I'm my thoughts. Well, then I ask you, who is listening to the thoughts? What is it that is observing the thoughts if you're the thoughts? Really check to see that, and you'll start to see really you're not the thoughts. Most of those being terribly. So that's a recipe for misery. And you'll find that when you don't actually attach to your thoughts and you just watch them, if you don't actually attach to feelings and you just observe them, release, and there's only a finite amount of negative feelings within us that we've installed as well. So taking responsibility for how you feel is also a really big part of it.
Right. Okay. So in your opinion, Julian, do you think people suffer? Why do you think people suffer with chronic anxiety and emotional pain? What do you think causes
it? Well, I really don't believe in this brain chemistry argument. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't even have a university degree. I'm just a spiritual nerd that became obsessed with my own self-healing and created results in my life. I've been through all that, I've that chemical imbalance stuff, in my experience, taking a medication, all it's doing is suppressing your feelings. Like you might as well be taking drugs. It's not really any different. And this is why when people stop taking their meds, again, all the emotions you've been suppressing spring up, and you can become suicidal. You can become, you can engage in a lot of very dangerous behavior, and feel very intense emotions. So the thing I've seen in the world now that I've become more or less a master at this experience is that we run away from our feelings. We run away from our feelings. We want to change them. And here's the biggest thing in mind science. When you want to change something, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about when you want to change something? You're thinking about the thing you want to change. And the mind is creative. The mind is literally creative. I show people a process where I get them, as if they already have it, say that goal out loud over and over again, and release all the feelings that come up that are negative towards it. And when they do that enough, the thing that they want actually happens very easily, like very easily. It's weird. Even stuff like money. I'm actually gonna be posting something one of my clients sent me. I told him to release on getting $1,000, and he did that. And then the government called him and said they owed him $1,000 from trade school, and are sending him a check. It's very interesting. Kind of like the missing piece of the law of attraction as well.
Yeah, law of attraction's a good one. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. I totally, it is. We create our thoughts. I believe that wholeheartedly now. And I think, another huge one is, instead of thinking with our mind, come from a place of our heart. So it's all positive energy and positive thoughts, right? And love ourselves. Yeah.
However, the issue with that is that, you tell somebody themselves, they're like, okay, I love myself. And intellectualizing it doesn't do anything. It can, if you have laser-like focus, but the thing people are missing is growing through the experience of it, of literally going into the feeling and feeling it and actually accepting it. Like when you get an anxiety attack, if you just accept it and you allow it, it will release, and you'll have less anxiety in your body. And if you keep doing that, if you make a habit of surrendering to the anxiety, over time, you will find that the anxiety will dissipate, and you will become more present all the time. And it will change so many things in your life in terms of your relationships, your health, your mental well-being. What happens is we tend to overcomplicate society, whereas, and again, I'm not knocking psychology or psychiatry, but we spent 7 years and $300,000 or whatever it is now to learn about the mind. And the mind is extremely simple. You have your conscious mind, what you're looking at now, and you have your subconscious mind. All the stuff you didn't want to look at when it was conscious, that you push down into the body. And by the way, the body's the subconscious. That's why we feel our feelings through the body. And then when you push sad thoughts down into your body, into your subconscious, then it compresses into a feeling and sticks into in your body as a sad feeling. And Chinese medicine talks about this all the time, how we have stored negative emotions. Also, Ayurveda does. So when you actually, how this process works, it's very simple. It's almost so simple that people can't believe that it actually works. And we'll actually get to a guided process in a little bit. But it's basically, if I can say in the simplest way, you think about things that bother you. You can even think about the anxiety attacks, call up the feelings into conscious awareness, and be with the feeling until it runs out. That's the basic thing. All day, we should be welcoming all feelings that come up. We should be feeling our body. Okay, there's anxiety in my stomach here. Okay, let me just allow it to be there. And as you see, it starts releasing, and you start learning about yourself. because the more of these lower feelings that we uncover and release, we start becoming more of our natural state, like we were when we were kids, which is having more courage, acceptance, and peace. That's how kids come into the world, and then we install all these emotions over our lifetime by life's inevitable downturns, situations, heartbreaks, disappointments. We just push all that stuff down, and yeah, it creates a lot of problems for us because the feeling comes up and it generates thinking. So here's the thing: when you let go of a feeling, you're letting go of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of thoughts that just will never occur again. That's why this works.
It makes sense to me.
Sorry, could you repeat that? It went a little hazy.
Yeah, I know, it stopped on me too. It makes sense to me what you're saying. Absolutely.
And I found in my experience, having tried so many things for my healing, that the more simple it is, the more correct it is. If it's some big complex system, it may provide results, but it's not going to be as effective. You need something simple that's repeatable. And for example, I was in psychotherapy for years, and I got growth from that. And I'm not knocking it again. Please don't stop seeing your psychotherapist, because I've said my experience. It's very valuable to have somebody to talk to. But what I found was I would get these releases, right? They would sometimes, my therapist would take me into the emotion, and yeah, I would have a big cry, and I would see a shift in my life from that, and my relationships, my way of being. But it wasn't repeatable. It would just happen sparingly. With this process, you can repeat it. You can do it all day. If you wanted to lock yourself in your apartment for a month and you did nothing but this, you wouldn't believe the kind of results you would create in your life and your way of being. It's a very powerful process.
That's great. Oh, you're going again. Your volume. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. Yeah, you're cutting out just a little bit. Weird.
The volume, or?
Well, you'll be I can see you talking, but there's no words coming out.
No, I wasn't talking. I was taking a sip of my drink, so maybe.
Oh, maybe. Because you're Vancouver, so it's close.
No, I'm in Colombia.
Or Colombia, that's right. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I bet you that's what the lag is. Right?
Could be, but I purposely got a very super fast connection. So
yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah. Well, it sounds really amazing. Now, are you going to do a little bit of a process for us, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. This will be great.
Exploration of what our feelings really are. And so for this process, I ask, first of all, I'm going to say that this is a process that you can do eyes open, eyes closed. You can do it all day, any time of day, in action, especially, which is the best place to do it, because you want to use the world to stir up the things that trigger you and then process them out so they don't bother you anymore. But I highly recommend that you close your eyes and you get in a comfortable position just to practice at first. And I'm going to be asking very simple yes/no questions for the most part. It's important that you don't try to get into a debate in your mind whether you should do this or do that, or try to figure out what I'm doing, because wanting to figure it out completely stops you from experiencing and actually making this process effective for yourself. The other thing is, as I said, this is experiential, so it's important that you stay in your body and feel your body. Mostly these sensations and stuff we'll be experiencing will come up in the stomach and the chest. So without further ado, just allow yourself to focus inside. Just give your body a little bit of a scan and notice what's happening right now in terms of emotions, sensations. And could you just allow yourself to be okay with whatever you're experiencing in this moment?
Yes.
And for the sake of this demonstration, by the way, just answer in your mind, so everybody else I highly recommend people on their own. Just you can answer out loud. You can answer in your mind. See what works better for you. But this can be done completely just silently as well. When I'm doing it like this. Okay, so allow yourself to focus inside and just scan your stomach and your chest. Just notice what's happening. And whatever you're feeling, even if it's what you would not prefer, can you just allow it to be there? Welcoming our feelings is the true way to really release them. When we're not getting in their way, they're coming up because they want to leave. That's literally why we get triggered, because the feeling wants to leave. But we're the hold on to it. So think about something that is bothering you. Maybe even think about how you feel about your anxiety or your depression. Sometimes first we have to release how we feel about the problem, and then we can surrender the problem itself. And notice what comes up as you think about how you feel about anxiety, depression, or whatever is bothering you. Just notice your stomach or your chest. Notice the emotion, the sensation. As you think about it, can you just welcome whatever is coming up in this moment? And now, as best you can, yes or no, could you let some of it go? No is okay, by the way. Listen to your body. Don't get into a debate in your head. Your body will give you a no or a yes. And would you let it go if you could? And when, which is an invitation to do it now. And could you let some more of it go? And would you? When? And could you let even more of it go? And would you? And when? And could you let even more of it go? And can you let even more of it go? And just for now, as best you can. No is okay as well. No can often lead to releases too. It's important that we try not to change it. If anything feels stuck, could you let go of wanting to change the stuck feeling? And could you let go of whatever is left? And now notice what you're experiencing. Do you feel heavier or do you feel lighter? If you feel lighter, you're headed in the right direction. But sometimes, especially in the beginning, when we're releasing, it can feel heavier and heavier, which is actually the body's opportunity, the body taking an opportunity to bring out more of suppressed feelings that have been there for a long time. Lifting up a bit of it can be a lot more hot steam at first, but it will dissipate. Now, think about that problem or whatever we thought about first again. And notice now what comes up in your stomach or your chest or wherever. It can come up anywhere. That's just the most common. And could you just welcome whatever's there? And just notice what happens when you just allow it to be there. Let's just do that for a little bit, just for a learning experience. It's almost like you're opening up to it inside. This is something you could do all day. And whatever is there, could you let some of it go? Would you let it go? When? Could you let even more of it go? And would you let it go if you could? When? And could you let even more of it go? And could you let even more of it go? And if there's any wanting to change it, could you let go of wanting to change it? And can you let go of wanting to change it even more? And could you let go of wanting to change it even more? And even more. And even more. And what are you experiencing? Now think about the problem or whatever you're thinking about again. And notice how it feels as you think about it. And you just welcome whatever comes up. Now we can do a little experiment with the power of our mind. Wherever the feeling is, can you imagine yourself opening an imaginary door, a magic door over where the feeling or sensation is? And can you just let it pass through like smoke coming out of a chimney? And can you let it pass through even more? And can you let it pass through even more? And could you let it pass through even more? And can you let it pass through even more than that? And can you let it pass through even more?
Hey.
And even more. And can you allow it to pass through even more? And can you let it pass through even more? And notice what's happening to it. Because all you did was open a window with your mind over the feeling. So how real are your feelings if that is possible? Really think about that.
It's unreal.
And that's again something you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's simple, right?
Yeah, and it basically like being with the feeling rather than, like you say, pushing it away. You realize that it's just that. It's just a feeling.
Yeah. You see that when anxiety comes up, it's just a feeling. Nothing's actually happening. It's just a replay of something that you didn't want to release. And when you push the feeling, you can only push it down. You cannot force it out. It will only go down back in and spring up and hit you in the face again. And worse. And it compresses and it gets worse. And we get more and more and more miserable. Now, this isn't just people with chronic anxiety and chronic depression. This is the entire planet. This is the entire planet. And people are acting out of these suppressed feelings. If everybody did this, we would have world peace. We would have a utopia. This is, I mean, it's very simple. Two, here's what the cause is. If you really look into your fears, every single fear that we have comes from the same fear. The fear of dying. You can do an exercise, actually. It's a very very interesting, very big self-discovery. But write down a fear, and then you say, I'm afraid I'll lose my job. And then what? You ask, and then what? And you write down, well, then I won't have any money. And then what? Well, then I won't be able to pay my bills. And then what? Well, I'll be on the street. And then what? It'll be dangerous. And then what? Oh, well, I'll die. If you do this, you can do this with any fear you have, even if you think it's not related to it. You keep asking, and then what? You will find that you will get to the bottom, the fear of dying. And now, here's where it kind of gets a little bit esoteric, I guess you can say. Not really esoteric, but a little bit different. The only reason we ever have a negative emotion is because of the fear of death, because we actually believe the ego, right? The ego believes it could die. The ego will die. When we pass away, your brain stops. But when you start actually separating from the thoughts and experiencing what we really are, which is the awareness of everything, we start getting these experiences of just joy and love and peace. And we're like, this is what I am. It becomes very obvious that we are eternal, infinite beings that used our infinite power to make ourselves infinitely small. That's what we start realizing as we do this work.
That's right. Yeah, that's so true. We've created the mess that we're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's great. That is really. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our group. Yeah. And I will I'll get this downloaded for you as well, and you can share it with your world as well, okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because it's we've been on over half an hour, so that's great. Though I've enjoyed the time with you, and what you shared with us is amazing. And we do have we do have a lot of people in the group that can definitely benefit from it. So
yeah, I'll be doing some group releases in the future. I'll be doing some videos on releasing, so to give some value and help some people.
Well, you're a warrior friend, so you're in our group. So keep connected and
absolutely. I will.
Okay. Have a good evening, Julian.
You as well. Take care.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.